Joined now by former Vancouver Canuck and TSN hockey analyst Frank Corrado. How you doing?
I'm good. I got something for Canucks Twitter for your loyal followers right off the top. So before we started the show, we were talking about the 2011 draft, talking about some older prospects that used to be in the pipeline. And earlier this week, I was doing some Champions Hockey League games on TSN, and a former Canucks prospect came across our screen. And I started thinking to myself, if you are a Canucks fan and you know who this guy is, you're a real one. Like, you are dialed into Canucks prospects over the years. You want the name of that prospect?
Yes.
Let me guess. Let me get it.
Okay.
Let me guess here.
Any hints?
I'll give you a hint. He had a twin brother.
He had a twin brother.
Want another hint?
Yeah.
Yes.
They were Swedish twins.
Wow.
Did they draft Henrik Lundqvist's brother?
Exactly. Joel Lundqvist?
They did not. But
okay.
if you remember Patrick and Pontus Westerholm, you are a serious Canucks prospect.
Wow. From Malmo, 6th round pick, 180th overall to the Vancouver Canucks in the 2011 draft, a left winger.
There
I remember Anton Cederholm. I don't remember Patrick.
Oh, how can we forget? How can we forget Cederholm?
I don't. Yeah, we're kind of. What year is the draft there?
2011.
That's my draft. 2011.
He was the pick right after Frankie. He was the Canucks' next pick after Frankie.
Wow.
Then there was Henrik Tomernes.
Where were you when the Westerholms came to development camp?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what? Jeff Patterson has an old notebook in the attic that has Westerholm notes on it, I'm sure. But a lot more Corrado notes, I'm sure.
I can guarantee you everyone who was on the beat for the team at that time had something written up. Not your ordinary Swedish twins. The Westerholms are in town.
Yeah,
something like that. The next
probably
Swedish twins. Yeah, there was
probably
some kind of play on Swedish twins there.
There was a bit of a deep cut last night in the NHL as Justin Bailey scored for the Sharks last night. Did you see that? His first goal in the NHL since 2017-2018 when he was with the Sabres.
He didn't score for the Canucks?
Not in three seasons. He was unable to ripple twine.
Oh,
yes.
He was a former teammate of mine in Kitchener with our good buddy Evan McEnany, who you tried to stump me on a trivia question a little earlier on. But Bailey's always had like a good finishing touch. That was something he was known for.
Well, the AHL was great, and he had big time wheels, didn't he? Wasn't he super fast?
Big time. Yeah. So nice to see him back up.
Yeah,
doing well.
Good Selly too.
Yeah. Canucks have won 3 in a row here, and Brock Boeser with a hat trick to once again be atop the NHL scoring race. What are you seeing out of Brock these days, Frank?
Yeah, you know what? It looks like he's patient on the ice and understanding like when he needs to arrive at the right spots at the right time. So we tweeted it out earlier today because someone who listens to the show was asking about the scissors play. Like, what is Tocchet talking about when he talks about that scissors play? And if you go to the Twitter account, you guys tweeted it out. Essentially, Quinn Hughes is going down the wall. Kuzmenko is coming up the wall. It's a little bit of an exchange. But when you get the back camera angle, you see Brock Boeser. He's kind of covering for Quinn Hughes. And instead of him like rushing into the play, it's almost like he recognized that there's 4 or 5 Lightning players packed low around the front of the net. So he hangs out into that higher ice. And, I think a lot has been made about the foot speed and, can he find the extra step? You don't need to rush into those areas. You don't need to be super quick to get into those areas. You just need to arrive at the right time. And, for a guy that has a great shot, if he can keep doing that, he'll be able to get that shot off in more different ways. And I even like the fact that like he's hanging around in front of the net. And I think it was Höglander and Miller who were kind of banging around and Boeser picks up that backhand one. It's like, he's just, I don't know, he's finding himself, I don't want to say like at the right spot at the right time, but it's almost like he's understanding like when he needs to arrive to certain areas so that he's timing it when the puck has arrived. And like, he's not going to have, like for me, he doesn't have that elusive shot that like Austin Matthews puts up 2 last night, right? Like he doesn't have that kind of shot where it's like, boom, it's like a blink of the eye. It's in the back of the net. But like he can really lean on it, and he's really finding himself in good positions to get his shot off, whether it's a garbage kind of goal, if you want to call it that, or a nice kind of snipe from higher in the zone.
Well, that's hockey IQ, and that's stealthy from Brock.
But it's confidence, and like we're seeing such a great comparison here. Like Brock doesn't get flustered right now. Like when you're scoring goals, it's like the game slows down sort of adage. It's sort of like that. It looks like versus Kuzmenko, who's just wants it so damn bad, Frank. And like he scores a big goal last night, and that's great. But for the most part, there's just so much frenetic activity now for Kuzmenko because he just wants it to be easier for him.
For sure. And I think that's, when the messaging for him has been to move your feet and hound pucks and get involved in the play and forecheck, it's like now all of a sudden you think you have to have that urgency all the time. And I don't think that's the worst thing in the world for Kuzmenko, but you are right. You almost see it. It can be frantic at times, but even leading up to his goal last night, I really like the fact that there was a loose puck up for grabs. He was the one took 2-3 hard strides to make sure he got that puck, and the Canucks were able to keep it alive, move it around, and then he leans into a one-timer. And I kind of like that spot for him. It feels like, we've seen it, right? Where I'm not going to compare him to Ovechkin because it's silly to do so. But listen, he's the right-handed shot. He's on his off wing. He can blast away at one-timers. And, with Brock Boeser kind of playing the way he is and having the success that he's having in the bumper position and, where that kind of spot can move around to, Kuzmenko needs to find other ways to score goals. So I don't mind him in that spot. He's not going to be a playmaker from there, but he's going to be a trigger man. And that's fine. He's going to have to throw volume at the net and, find a way to get one in. That time he scores on Vasilevsky. But that's the energy he has right now. You're right. It is a little bit frantic, but I think that's okay. And if we've learned anything from Boeser, it's like you push yourself a little bit more to try and do a little bit more. And as that process kind of slows down in your head, then you feel the game slow down for you a little bit. And then you're like, okay, I pushed myself. Like I really felt like I was frantic, but now I understand. I understand a little bit more here as far as what I need to do. And like last year for Kuzmenko, it just seemed like everything was going in. And how many times was there a little backdoor tap in into a wide open net for Kuzmenko? Now he's got to earn it a little bit more because those aren't happening. And that's the ebbs and flows of season to season for goal scorers in the NHL. We've seen it a lot where guys have big years and everything seems to be going in. And then sometimes it's just like, I'm doing all the same things, but I'm just not scoring. And the shooting percentage was going to come down. We knew that. So it's part of the evolution of the player. I know he's, an older guy to be considered a second-year player, but he is still a second-year player in the NHL, and he's finding his way. And he's a big part of the team. Like you invest a 2-year contract into him. It's significant money, and they still need him to show growth. And even though the shooting percentage might not be there for him this year, you can see that he's trying to have that growth as well.
To make that scissor play work, do you need a defenseman like Quinn Hughes, who is that comfortable carrying the puck that down low and making a decision when he draws guys? And I also want your 2 cents on Hughes's game last night, another 3-assist effort.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be Quinn Hughes who does that. There's, Tyler Myers can do that play. It just after the play, what are you going to do with the puck? Like someone who's not of Quinn Hughes's ilk could probably take that puck and just funnel it from a bad angle to the front of the net. And that's not the worst thing either. Like, there's goalie coaches when we do pre-scout meetings that would tell you throw stuff at this guy's feet because he's not set for it, and you can find one that banks in off a skate or something like that. But when you have Hughes, he doesn't feel like he has to drop it to Kuzmenko. He feels like he can make a play. And then sure enough, there's poise, there's confidence, there's playmaking ability. He holds on to it a little bit longer. He puts it right in Brock Boeser's wheelhouse. So yeah, it doesn't have to be Hughes, but when he's doing it, when he's administering it, chances are if it's executed well at the beginning, he's going to be able to make something happen with the puck. And listen, like for Hughes, I think the beat kind of goes on here. It's just like good command of the game, the puck moving ability, and he helps facilitate so much for the team as far as getting out of the zone clean and getting things going up ice. And I think like we've talked about this before, where when I was playing in Pittsburgh, Mike Sullivan, well, I actually had him in Vancouver as the assistant as well. His motto always was as a defenseman, let's get it up to the forwards as quick as humanly possible because those are the guys that should be handling the puck, especially on that team, okay, on those Pittsburgh teams. Now, Quinn Hughes, he's going to hold on to the puck a little bit longer, but that's okay because he's so shifty and so evasive. He doesn't have to be in a hurry to get it to the forwards. He's going to get it to the hands of the forwards when they're like in a really good position to do something with it. So, we talk about the frantic energy from Kuzmenko. There's no frantic energy from Hughes because like he'll make a move, it's shifty, it's evasive. Now everyone's going up the ice together. He's going to give it to you right before you cross the blue line, and like things are going well for the team when he has the puck. I don't know. It's just he's just got a lot of command of the game right now.
The rich get richer in the sense, don't they? That he was already regarded as a good player for sure, but when he goes off like this, Quinn Hughes, the panic that I think gets instilled in the opposition, he is such a distraction, especially when he goes for a tour like that. Like you can't help but get sucked in and get worried that he's going to do something. And so you get attracted to him, which is exactly what he wants you to do because it opens up, a player for him, right? Like it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in some ways when you have a transcendent season like this. You're so worried as the opposition that he's going to do something.
It's one of the number one things that teams are going to talk about before games. It's make sure you get a piece of Hughes so he's not able to beat you up the ice. And that's really what throws teams off when you have a defenseman like Hughes who's so good at getting up in the rush, not just leading it, but like making sure that he's up as the second wave as well. But like when he is kind of leading the rush, which he'll do, and in the past, I think, I remember coaches saying like as a defenseman, you don't want to lead the rush. You can lead the rush as long as everyone on the ice on your team understands what's going on. And so if that's the case, now you've thrown some confusion to the back checkers because now teams will have an over tendency to back check on you, or maybe there's a little bit of a sort out situation where your forward's going to come in as the second wave, but now he's going to rejoin the play and Hughes gets out of the play. And it's like, how's the other team going to react to all that? So it creates an interesting proposition for other teams, and it creates some confusion for them. So like he's almost like in not his own league, because like if you've watched Colorado recently, like Cale Makar has really turned, like he's been outstanding and he's almost been overshadowed behind the brilliance of Hughes all season long. But man, like if there's tier 1 and tier 1A, like right now it's Makar and it's pretty close behind Hughes.
Those two guys are running away with the points race for defensemen.
What's with all the too many men penalties?
Speaking of confusion, yes.
You know what? It's not just the Canucks. Like there's a lot of teams that are going through this with the too many men penalties. Like here in Toronto, I think they had 8 as recent as a couple weeks ago, which is quite staggering. So I saw that one last night, and you have 2 forwards jumping on at the same time, and one player coming off. I was always one of those players who I would turn around if I knew that the line in front of me or the D pair in front of me had been on for 20, 30 seconds and I hadn't heard who was up next. I'd be okay with turning around and being like, who's going? Like, who's going here? But I don't know what it's like with the forwards, but there is, because coaches will change up lines and have interchangeable guys, and a right-handed shot will play left wing. Like there is a little confusion there, and you're kind of watching the game. You're watching who you're coming on the ice for, and then even if a coach like changes up the rotation of the lines, like if he goes 1, 2, 3, 4 all night long, you pretty much know who you're changing for all night. But if he wants to go 1, 3, 2, 1, then you're like, who the hell am I changing for again? Like what line is up? So it's a little confusing at times, but you have to be on the ball. You have to communicate. And I think, with the way coaches like to line match now, like there's usually one coach on the bench who's always looking over at the other bench, and he'll kind of indicate to the head coach, like, okay, Kucherov's line just came on. And he's like, okay, we're changing it up. So-and-so is going on. So you really have to be on the ball there. And when that happens, your brain has to go to, okay, if I was just going to change for Garland, okay, I got to change for Boeser now. And that all happens really quick. So, but at the end of the day, like it's a professional league. It's the NHL, best league in the world. Like you really do have to be dialed in. And oftentimes the too many men penalties are going to, sometimes the coach is going to take the heat for those.
All right. So you're a young Italian kid from back east. You walk into the Canucks dressing room, officially in 2012, 2013, but we're around the club before that as a 2011 draft pick. And there sits Roberto Luongo. Tell us about your interactions, your time with Louis.
How do I so he's such a superstar, right? And he's like the biggest goalie in the league at the time, just like a complete megastar. So I think my whole thing was just don't talk too much or try not to try not to get in one of the best goalie in the world's way ever. But he was always very nice to me, and just the fact that we were both Italian Canadian, like I feel like we had that kind of going for us. And I remember there was one conversation I had with him, and I probably should have remembered what I was telling myself the first time when I said don't talk much and shut your mouth. But remember when there was speculation that Lou was maybe going to get traded to the Leafs? Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I think we were sitting in the lounge the one day, and I couldn't have been more than 20, maybe 21. And I said to him, I'm like, really? Like, would you want to go to Toronto with that microscope there? And I instantly regretted opening my mouth. And I'm like, why would you say that at the rink, you idiot? Like, the guy doesn't want to talk about that stuff. But as a young kid, you're just like, we're talking hockey, and I'm from Toronto and I know the city, know the market, all that kind of stuff. And he was always very nice though. He never said anything that was demeaning to me or made me feel smaller. Hey. But if that's the wrong guy, if you say something like that to the wrong guy, they'll look at you and be like, why are you talking to me right now? Shut your mouth. But
do you remember any gaffes that he bailed you out of? Did he ever give you a stare down?
I was gonna say, did you ever get glared at?
You know what? So my first game I would have played behind or in front of Corey Schneider, and I remember that one for sure. And do you remember there was the game, and I don't think Lou would have been dressed for this game, but it was that last one of the season against the Oilers. And all the Oilers guys hit their bonuses, and Joe Canada was backing up, and I think Botchford was right. He wrote a piece the next day, how do you not put Joe Canada in and leave the team hung out to dry like that? And there's nothing that really I remember as far as him bailing me out or anything, where it's
good.
Nothing where I'm like, oh, there, I can feel the eyes through the back of my jersey. Yeah. I just think he was a constant pro. And the one thing that really does stick out though, the first time I ever started shooting on him, and I think he would do this to a lot of guys in practice, you think you have parts of the net because he was compact in the way he looked. And he's just the quickest reflex to the glove ever. And I had never seen anything like this before. And I'm like, I'm skating down in a drill. I take a shot. I'm like, oh, I got glove. I'm going to take it. It's like, no, you don't. His reflex he was so good that way. And I think he did that to a lot of guys. He was just, I think he came up in an era of goaltending where, he was big, obviously, but they still valued athleticism compared to now where you see these guys that are just, they're blockers. They try and get the high percentage save, high percentage shot, they're blockers. And he was, one of the things that made him so great was he was that mix of the big body and the athleticism that you needed during that time when he came up.
Grady's going to hate me for this as a goalie guy, but it was a much more fun position and aesthetically pleasing position.
When there wasn't as many
rules.
Law,
Hasek, Brodeur, all the way, because Frankie's right. The athleticism was on full display.
Yeah.
More often than not. Did he ever take your money in fantasy football or any kind of
poker?
No, I was far away from the card games, far away from the table. I think I did a survivor pool one year with the Canucks, and I lasted until week 2. And I was like, I'm not even going to buy back in because I'm going to waste my time. I actually just recently started playing fantasy football, and it was going really well. And Justin Herbert just got hurt, and now I think my season's done.
Right.
So that's unfortunate.
Lastly, what do you make of the fact this will be a Ring of Honor and not a jersey number retirement tomorrow?
Yeah, there's a lot of opinions on this. Okay. I'm probably more in the camp that you can retire Roberto Luongo's number and you're not going to get any kind of criticism or backlash from it. And let's be honest, any goaltender who's coming into the system is not going to wear number one. They're probably not going to be permitted to wear number one. If anything, it's like a soft retirement within like the equipment staff or the management group. So if that's
right.
the case, what are we doing? Why
Yeah.
are we not just retiring his number? Because he didn't win a Stanley Cup? Well, he's one of the greatest players to ever be in the organization, the greatest goaltender to ever be in the organization. Like, I don't know. There's certain standards within an organization that warrants a number retirement, and if no one's ever going to wear it again anyways, you might as well just do it, because I think he has that much respect from people who are in the market, people who are in the team, that no one's ever going to wear that number again.
Well,
When you think of, we looked at this earlier. When you think of how good Thatcher Demko has been for the Canucks, and granted, there's been a partial season here because of COVID. There was an injury to Demko, and of course, at one time he played behind Jacob Markstrom. But he's 157 wins behind Roberto.
He's only crested 30 wins once. Yeah.
Like, it is a large hill to climb.
Well, think about this. Like, think about Roberto too, and how many games he would play every year. Goalies are not doing that anymore. Like, even a guy like Thatcher Demko, who's a clear-cut number one, right? You're not going to run the risk of playing the guy over 60 times a year because of the injury factor. And I think that's something that you have to take into account as well with these guys like Luongo. It's like the longevity that they had is just as impressive as the performance that they were able to put on in the game, in the net. So there's something to be said for that as well, in an era where, load management is a thing, and, the tandem goaltender duo has become so prominent.
You're the best. Thanks for this. We'll catch up next week.
Thanks, Frank.
No worries, and we'll have an update on the Westerholm twins soon.
Yeah, you know what? You're going to inspire me to bring you some trivia here going forward.
Scouting report. Yes.
Love it. See you, boys.
This clip brought to you by the VGH Millionaire Lottery. Order now for your chance to win one of 10 grand prizes. For tickets, go to millionairelottery.com.